The word dilemma is popularly used to signify a difficult choice. I'm in a dilemma. But in fact, a dilemma is quite an intricate form of argument. It's not in itself a fallacy, it's a valid form of argument. The argument basically says that we have to choose between alternatives, each of which has consequences. And therefore, whichever alternative we choose, we must face one or the other of the consequences. That's perfectly valid. It's basically saying, if I choose to do A, B will happen. If I choose to do C, D will happen. Since I must choose between A or C, I must face the consequences of either B or D. The dilemma is valid, if indeed the consequences do follow, and if indeed the choice is limited to those alternatives. A Greek mother told her son, who was contemplating politics, "Don't do it, boy. If you tell the truth, men will hate you. If you tell lies, the gods will hate you. Since you must tell truth or lies, you're going to be hated either by men or by the gods." The Greek boy had several possible replies. He could have denied that those consequences follow. He could have said, actually, no, mother, if I tell the truth, my men might respect me rather than hate me. This is called grasping the dilemma by the horns, where you deny that at least one of the consequences must follow. He might have claimed the choice was a false one, because he could tell the truth at some times and falsehoods at others. He could issue statements that were a mixture of truth and falsehoods. He didn't have to choose all the time between them. The third way of dealing with a dilemma is called rebutting the dilemma, and this is very elegant. And that's when you compose another beast out of the same elements that made up the original one and send it charging in the opposite direction. In fact, the Greek boy replied, "No, mother. If I tell the truth, the gods will love me. If I tell lies, men will love me. Since I must either tell truth or lies, I must be loved by gods or by men." It's very elegant to see this done. One is almost tempted to shower gold into the ring when someone comes out with an elegant rebuttal. Protagoras taught law, and he charged money for this. One student who was particularly poor couldn't afford his fees. So Protagoras said, "Well, look, I'll teach you law, and you don't have to pay me until you've won your first case." Time went by. The student learned his law, but showed no sign of fighting his first case. Protagoras grew very impatient and sued him, and said in court, "I get the money. If the court rules in my favour, it says he has to pay me. If it rules against me, he's won his first case and has to pay me." But the student had been a very good student, and when it was his turn to give evidence, he said, "No, if the court decides against me, I haven't yet won my first case, so I don't have to pay it. If the court decides in my favour, it says I don't have to pay." It's reported the judge had a nervous breakdown and adjourned the case indefinitely. When you oppose decisions that are being contemplated, simply point out the awful consequences of each one of them and point out that you have a choice between them, and therefore awful consequences must follow whatever you do. If we allow this school for problem teenagers to be built in our area, either it's going to be empty, or it'll be a waste of money, or it'll be full and we'll have more troublemakers than the area can handle. You might get away with it, provided there are no students of Protagoras in the audience.
Madsen Pirie, showing once more that if you know your fallacies, you can win every argument.